Welcome to the kbbreview podcast. I'm Andy Davies as always, and this is episode 5 of season 12. Now today we're looking at a subject that has been completely eye-opening for me. It's an issue affecting installers, and I confess I had no idea just how big a problem it is until I started looking into it, and that is tool theft. It's about as base a problem as you can get. The tools of your trade worth thousands of pounds in some cases getting nicked from your van. The impact is obvious on your immediate ability to work, but the resultant cost of not just replacing the tools, but also getting the van patched up and your insurance rates rocketing, well, it's just as bad. And then, of course, there's permanent and very real anxiety that it might happen again every time you park up, and that can have a significant effect on mental health. It really is that big a deal. So we'll be hearing the personal accounts of 3 installers who have shocking stories to tell about it happening to them, what the costs both financially and personally have been, and what, if anything, can be done about it. But first, today's episode is brought to you with the support of our very good friends at Lawchris. They lead the field in wood-based panel products, laminates and edgings with big brands such as Emporio Skin, Kronospan and many more. With over 40 vehicles in their fleet, they can provide next-day delivery on all stock products, and you can find out all about them at lawchris.co.uk. That's lawchris.co.uk, and that link is in the episode description. So let's start by getting an idea of the scale of tool theft in the UK. Just how far does it go? Direct Line brought out a report earlier this month that gathered numbers from police forces across the UK on reported incidents of tool theft, and it is genuinely shocking. There were nearly 45,000 tool thefts reported to the police in 2023. That's one every 12 seconds. And if you add it all up, that comes to lost business worth £83 million. And remember, this is just the incidents that were reported to police, so the actual number is likely to be considerably higher. In fact, a different report from On the Tools in 2022 asked tradespeople directly, and they found that nearly a quarter didn't report it to the police. Now, that On the Tools report also found that more than 2/3 say they worry about tool theft every single day. So it is a massive issue just in terms of the number of thefts and the financial and emotional impact that it has. But where do all these stolen tools go? Well, there are many places they're sold. The likes of Facebook, eBay and Gumtree are all online, and while it's an issue, they have their own self-regulated way of tackling the sale of stolen goods. So campaigners are targeting unregulated car boot sales, where traders openly lay hundreds of power tools out for bargain hunters with little fear of consequences. We've all seen them. So this is a multifaceted issue, but it all starts with a simple act of often blatant criminality.
My name's Stuart Clark. I'm the Director of Operations for EA Mobility.
Tell us a bit about EA Mobility, what you do, what the background of it is.
So EA Mobility is a growing medium-sized mobility adaptation business. So largely around bathroom adaptations, but that's not solely what we do. And we've got a number of engineers on the road every day, enabling and restoring independence to people in their own homes.
We're going to talk about tool theft. What's your story on some of the incidents that have happened to you?
One of the blights of our job, I've referenced that we're a national-based business, so we spend a lot of time in and out of hotels overnight, our engineers do specifically, with transit vans lined up on Premier Inn car parks across the UK, or similar hotel brands. And as such, we've been the target of many break-ins over specifically the last 18 months, as it's really grown. And in 2023, up to the end, we had 13 vans broken into, with various levels of damage and tool theft within that. Majority of those have been on hotel car parks, which I think is quite significant. When you wake up and find your van has been broken into, or one of our team finds the van, it's not uncommon to see 2 or 3 vans left and right of you with padlocks and deadlocks, or on the floor cut off with doors half open.
And when that happens, there's the immediate impact of it happening. You know, oh my God, my van's been broken into. But you've put them up in a hotel overnight. They've got a job to do. The whole reason they're in a hotel is so they can go straight onto the job in the morning. It just must completely disrupt the logistics of everything.
Absolutely. You know, it's sad to say that, you know, when you stop in hotels in this day and age, it's not uncommon to see tradesmen wheeling in large carts of their own tools into their own bedrooms, because it's so common. But, you know, the logistics and the impacts are widespread, not only for the individual, but for the client, the cost to the business to support that just that initial cost of the tool theft. I'm sure like lots of businesses out there, we've got a mix of vans, some of our own privately owned vans or company owned vans, and some of them are like lease hired. They are the big impacts to us because those vans need to be brought up to a state of repair, and we either have to pay for that ourselves or naturally put it through the insurance. And that's when it becomes a big commercial cost to the business.
Can you put an estimate on what this has cost you, Save, in the last 12 months?
Yeah. Tools have been varying. And whilst our engineers, on the books engineers, so, they provide many of their own tools along with certain business provided tools, but we would estimate circa £15,000 worth of tools across those break-ins. And many of the break-ins have resulted in very little theft, and some of them have resulted in, £4,000 or £5,000 worth of tooling. But commercially, as a business, this is what's really hitting us now. We've been working with our insurance brokers for the last few months to look at what the impacts are for our insurance. And because these vans and the range from £1,000 to repair the van because it's a clean drill on the lock, to double locks being drilled, to damages with crowbars, and they range from £1,000 up to £4,000 to repair it. So we're looking at an insurance bill of around about £30,000 for the vans that have been broken into. And as such, the policy, we've been told, will double. It will go up 100% at the best case at the moment. And that will be roughly, for a business that's got 15 vans on the road, our policy will go to around about £70,000 to £80,000 a year. We're sadly seen as a high-risk customer now. And when I talk about the vans over the year, 9 of those vans were done on the 20th of December, our Christmas event. So we had a Christmas event, an end-of-year meeting. 9 of them, or 7 of them was done on the evening of the Christmas event, and 2 of the vans were done at 10 a.m. and on a large hotel car park, middle of the day. Big impact in one go.
So hang on. So you'd hired a hotel for your Christmas party.
Yeah.
You had all your guys there. They'd all come in their vans because that's their transport. You put them all up overnight, and you had that many vans just done in the car park of your Christmas party.
7 vans were done on the evening, and got a phone call around about 1 a.m. with the dreadful news to say that all these vans have been broken into. And then the following day, 2 vans were done between 10:30 and 11 a.m. Broad daylight, hundreds and hundreds of cars on the car park. Dreadful experience for everybody involved.
It's funny, isn't it? Of course these people don't have any morals. Of course they don't, right? That's because they're thieves. But that just makes it all 100 times worse. It's a Christmas party, especially given what you guys do and who you're doing it for, who your customers are. This is really important stuff that you're doing for people. I know it's a business and you're making money, but it has a massive impact on people's quality of life, the kind of things that you're putting in there. And that just grinds to a halt the moment somebody does this.
I think what's frustrating is everybody thinks that, well, the insurance will just pay for it. And we've got various levels of tool insurance that will cover. This is a retrospective measure we took to support our engineers. But sadly, when you claim against insurance, there is an impact. And whilst our insurance will go up significantly, there's been a number of vans as well that we've chosen to just pay for. And some of them, our own vans, have just put a plate over them. So we're not claim, but the impact is on everybody. And yes, you've mentioned the importance of the work we do. Yes, it is. And we are in the care industry, but we are still a business running, and we don't budget for such big hikes in our commercial side of the insurance.
And what about the actual security measures that you can pay for and put in? You can put lots of locks and various things in. Do you think they're worth it? Is it just slowing them down? What do you think?
It's interestingly, it's probably not one to, I'm probably tipping people off. All of the vehicles that we had done were Ford Transits, all newish Ford Transits, sort of within the last sort of 12 months. None of our Vauxhalls or any other brand vans that might be available were actually tackled. The locks and deterrents, so we looked at different things for the internal vans like van vaults and stuff like that, and some of our engineers have got them. It doesn't deter them from breaking into the vehicle, which is the commercial impact for the business. The sad thing is when you're reporting these thefts to the hotels, or, you're waking up and you're finding them on a hotel car park, there's people on there that have got deadlocks, big deadlocks, and are just literally cut off. A lot of the mobile battery operated multi-tool kits, they just literally cut a hole out and just chuck it on the floor. And the damage is even more, as you can imagine, to the vehicle then. So it's hard to know which measures to take to support that.
And how supportive are the hotels and things, for example? They must have CCTV on their car parks.
Yeah, or they provide the CCTV. And again, for us, we've been once bitten, twice shy. So we'll park in well-lit areas, close to the front where you can, rather than in a dark corner of a hotel car park. They'll always provide the CCTV, which is where it stops. I'm afraid that, and I don't really see how the police can do a lot more. They generally look at that CCTV. There's 2 or 3 people with hoodies on, with their heads bowed. I don't know the time that they can take to break into these vans, but it is seconds. It is literally seconds. One's driving, one's spotting, one's drilling. And they are in and out, as we found in the daylight one, in and out in minutes, laden up. And the hotels, yes, they provide evidence if needed, but both of our cases at Christmas were closed within 48 hours with insignificant evidence to support pursuing it. And I understand that.
Wow. Well, Merry Christmas. What about actually where the tools all go? They're nicking them because there's obviously a market to buy them. Have you tried to track them down? Have you tried to find them? What measures have you put into just trying to find out where they go?
We know a lot of people are posting articles now. We know a lot of these go onto like marketplaces straight away, and they're literally shifted within probably hours and days for cheap price. When you get caught like this, your natural instinct is to go straight on to these sites and start searching, and there are thousands. It is just, and you can see that the tradesmen's tools, because they're laid out on the floor, they're not clean, they're dusty on them, there's damage on them, and it's a vicious circle, isn't it? You see these things advertised, and I'm sure good people have taken advantage by buying cheap tools without really considering where they've come from. It's just a real big industry now for them to do it, and it's so quick. And for them people that are doing it, I'm sure that they do not feel that there is any impact to people. Or don't care.
What's your view, Stuart, on like liveried vans? I mean, you're a successful company. You want to advertise your services, but clearly, if your van has on the side of it who you are and what you do, are you making a target for yourself?
Well, none of our liveried vans have actually been broken into, and they have been in the same area. So we was all together, obviously, at the Christmas event. So it was the non-liveried vans, these transits, these brand new transits, because they're so easy. Listen, I've never tried it, but I can tell you exactly the dimensions that you need to drill a hole in the side of a transit van to flick the lock. And I think it's the opportunity for them is so much easier than maybe other brands. And I'm sure it goes in cycles. I'm sure that other vehicles, other brands have gone in cycles over the years, but all of the vans that I've referenced have been Ford Transits, and within probably 18 months old, to the modern style. I think what's disappointing is with such expensive vehicles, then a lot of these vehicles are £40,000 plus in today's market, that there isn't some form of mechanism within them to stop this easy action. You've got to take your own measures to try and reduce it.
Yeah, and again, you end up forking out huge amounts of money to effectively slow them down.
Absolutely. It's a deterrent.
It sounds awful, doesn't it? But all you can hope is that they pick on the guy next to you, not you, because yours looks slightly more difficult to get into.
It's interesting. Obviously we stop in a lot of hotels, as I've referenced, and hotels are a very expensive marketplace. Like everything in today's generation, it's going up in price. The large hotels, I think more work should be done around them to protect that. I don't know what that looks like, because if you are so persuaded to go thieving tools, and it's organised as we know, where you're going to go. You're going to go to the large local hotel that has hosts of tradesmen in them, all ranging in different types of jobs, vans, lined up on the car park. It's just like picking sweets from a sweet shop. I think more could be done around that. These large scale brands of chain hotels doing something to support it, but what that looks like, I do not know.
Well, I mean, they get all the business, wouldn't they? It's not about support, is it? If you had an underground car park with a big metal shutter on it, you'd get all the business.
We've all been to these large hotel chains, and they could have some sort of automatic gates, but a lot of our engineers worry about staying overnight now, and as such, they will choose to drive distances that don't make us comfortable because they don't want to leave their van and take that risk.
That was Stuart Clark from EA Mobility, and you can only imagine what it must be like to see a dozen of your vans all done over in one go like that. Absolutely devastating. Some 2019 research from the Federation of Master Builders found that over a 40-year working life, a builder will typically lose £10,000 worth of tools to theft. But the long-term impact could be much greater. This issue alone is causing 15% of builders to suffer from anxiety and just over 1 in 10 to suffer from depression. The On the Tools report from 2022 says that 78% of tradespeople have had tools stolen, and the self-employed are 38% more likely to experience it than the employed. So it's not surprising that 2/3 of self-employed tradespeople say it has a strong impact on their mental health. The cost, both financially and mentally, is absolutely huge.
I'm Peter Butt, and I'm the business manager of the Adroit Services Partnership. Adroit Service is a supply and fit bathroom installation business. We supply and fit everything, so we're completely accountable for every aspect of the installation. We're not a retailer, as in someone would just knock on the door and come and have a look at our bathrooms. People only come to our showroom if they've had a quote and they're interested in discussing it further. The full team is 18 people. 11 of those are installers. We install on average 4 bathrooms a week. If they decide to go ahead with us, then we use our own fully employed installers to carry out their installation, and then we offer a 2-year workmanship warranty, and we take care of everything within those 2 years should they have any issues.
That's a substantial business. So look, you have your own experience of tool theft, van break-ins, that kind of thing. Tell us the story. Tell us your experience of it.
Several years ago, when I was still on the tools, we had a van broken into that was parked outside of a customer's house. It's quite a long driveway. They literally emptied the van of tools. We were unaware of that. That van was completely locked up, so they caused damage to get into it. We had 2 other vans parked on the drive of this property, and they walked up the drive and had taken those vans, unfortunately weren't locked, and they'd just taken a couple of tile cutters out of those. Beyond that, we have had a van broken into that was parked in a multi-storey car park, which was lauded with CCTV coverage. But when we did a freedom of information request, it turned out that CCTV hadn't been working for some time. And that van was emptied of its tools. It was a transporter van. We put high security locks on the doors, and they still managed to overcome those and peel the door open and cause probably £3,000-4,000 worth of damage just to the van itself. All those tools had to be replaced, and we replaced them all next day because we had no choice. Most of them were our installers' own tools, but we supplied replacements for all of them. And then another one was we had a van stolen in lockdown, so we had it parked up outside the showroom, and that was simply towed away. And the first we knew of it was when someone said, "Where's that van gone?" We got a nice CCTV video of it being dragged away, screaming, its alarm going off. That caused me to put trackers on all the vans. Then we had another van stolen from a town I live in. Fortunately, it was on the road where I used to live. So one of my old neighbours rang me at 4 a.m. to tell me my van was being stolen. Thankfully, due to the trackers, we were able to guide the police in to stop the vehicle heading north on the M40. So only about £500 worth of damage on that one, but I say only. It's £500 we didn't need to pay out, and that van had a load of bathroom product in it, which should have been installed that day. So that put us behind because obviously we didn't have the goods. The van was taken in for forensic examination, so we didn't get the van back for 3 weeks. And then I think that's it.
I think that's plenty.
It is plenty for one small business.
I guess it's just a constant thing for you, this constant concern, the constant worry. And then, of course, when it actually happens, as you say, there's the overall cost of it, the financial cost of it. But then there's the delays it puts on the jobs, there's the administration of sorting it all out. And it's upsetting as well when you come back and that's happened to you. Just the man hours involved in it must be a big part of the cost.
It takes a considerable amount of time to resolve these issues. Firstly, if you're having to deal with the police, if you're having to wait for forensic examination, so you don't necessarily get access to your vehicle for some time, which means they simply won't let you go into it, which we understand, but that's putting a block on your trading in some respects. Fortunately, we're big enough that we have 10 other vans on the go, and we can pick people up, we can share tools. You've got the time it takes to sort out your insurance, you've got your insurance add-on costs. When you've had 2 vans stolen in what I would consider fairly quick succession, you start to wonder, are we being targeted? Because we do have very liveried vans because it's part of our advertising strategy. So that led me to what we've got. All the guys have a wheel clamp now, so they can put the wheel clamp on overnight, because the way our vans have been stolen, they've just been towed away. We have high security deadlocks on all the doors, but we know it's a slowing deterrent, but they can be overcome, as we've seen. We bought smart water, which I think is now rebranded to something else. So we have smart water on all of our tools, so that if they are stolen and recovered, there's a chance we're going to get them back, because that's all logged with smart water. and van vaults. So we bought van vaults for all the guys so that they can essentially choose their favourite children so that they go in the toolbox in the van vault to keep them secure. So we've done everything we can, but there's a significant investment that's gone into all of that, but it still doesn't mean that they're not going to go. And you're right that there is that fear that when you park your van up at night, if you can't take every single tool out every night, are they going to be there in the morning?
Been a couple of occasions, haven't there, where you've caught someone red-handed. What advice are you giving, or what is your feeling about how you tackle that? Do you just let them go? Do you advise them not to chase them or tackle them in any way? Well, how does that work? You used to be very angry in that moment and you want to get your tools back.
We did have an incident on site where we had 3 vans working on site. So we were working in some almshouses that were a row of 4 cottages, and we were parked in the courtyard. And as one of the guys was going out to his van, there was a guy in the van taking tools out. And he'd obviously already taken a couple of trips to his own van. And he asked him what he was doing, but he simply said, "Oh, this is my uncle's van. I'm collecting his tools for him." And my guy said, "No, you're not. It's my van and they're my tools." And he used a few expletives, but basically said, "What did you expect was going to happen, you daft something, if it's not locked?" And he basically said, "Give me my tools back." And he went and got all the tools out of the van and then threw them on the drive and drove off. So the plus side is we got the tools back. The sort of people that are doing this thieving don't seem to have any fear of consequence. That's the biggest issue, I think, is that there is no fear of consequence for them, because if people were buying these tools at car boot sales or Facebook Marketplace, all that kind of stuff, there wouldn't be a market for it. So I have never bought secondhand tools unless I know the person that, might be a colleague or a friend who started, I'm upgrading my gear, and you know the source of it. If you're buying tools like that, you'll see them. There are pictures often put up on Facebook groups where there's spray paint on the tools. A lot of tradespeople will spray paint their tools to make them really obvious that they're theirs. If people are buying that, that's creating the market. I know we're not going to stop everybody doing that because everybody loves a bargain. But when you're buying that, you're supporting a market that is ripping tools from someone that is trying to make a living. And a one-man band who loses his tools potentially hasn't got the money to replace them. And they're out of business, and that's their family affected. That's the one that really gets me wound up. I've helped a friend out who was a one-man band. He had his van broken into. He simply left it outside the football club in the car park overnight because he'd had a couple of drinks and he thought, "Oh, I was going to go home, but I'll leave the van." And I had to lend him tools for a couple of weeks whilst he sorted his gear out. I think these people know what they're doing, but they don't care. But if people weren't buying those tools, there'd be no market for it. With us putting on the smart water, we've given ourselves a chance that if they do get recovered, we appreciate that for the police, this isn't a huge priority, because once they're gone, it's very hard. They haven't got trackers and things on. They tend to find them by chance. But if they were actually policing car boot sales and actually a deterrent presence, there's a good chance that they'd be recovering a lot of kit, because the guys that have got them in front of them, they're either going to do a runner or they're not going to be able to show that they've got no proof of receipts or anything like that. Sweeping generalization, but we've seen this numerous times on various markets where tradesmen have gone around trying to find their tools and they're showing videos of, "Look, these are my tools," and the guys just don't care because there isn't that fear of consequence.
So what would you like to see happen? I mean, there's lots of petitions and stuff around at the moment about trying to police this stuff much better. What would you like to see happen?
I think any decent person wants to see people not stealing. We want to see more police response to this, but in order to do that, the police need more resources. I'm a firm supporter of the police. It's a job that I wanted when I was a kid, but my eyes weren't good enough to join the police, so that's my loss. The government needs to fund the police to be able to provide a service. They've tried to say the police aren't a police force anymore, they're a police service, but they can't provide a service because they're not funded enough. Our police officers are run down and disheartened by the society that they're trying to police. It's very hard to police by consent when you've got so many people that aren't consenting to a decent way of living. So I think more police officers, better supported. If a car park has CCTV, it should be working. It should be monitored. We should be able to park our vehicles and know that something does happen. We've got some form of redress, but when you've got a multi-story car park which hasn't got coverage at all, then there is absolutely nothing for the police to go on. So it's all very well, we'll bang on about, we want more police, we want them. We also need the infrastructure to be there to try and capture this. We also need people not to be bad people.
Yeah, and to try and kill the market off.
Yeah, absolutely. It could be trading standards could pick up the mantle and go to these car boot sales, not necessarily the police. And even if they just gather evidence for the police then to prosecute, there's all sorts of vigilante type groups around for various things that people do. Not suggesting that's the way to go, but even PCSOs could walk around and just take pictures of gear and who's got it, and then police could do something with it.
Yeah, and awareness of the public that when they see a pile of tools at a car boot, it's not just a bargain; it's someone's livelihood.
Yeah, I think that's certainly something that if we can raise awareness, the question will be, will people care? Because too many people just think that, well, that's a bargain, I'll have that, without understanding that actually where it's come from has potentially ruined someone's livelihood.
That was Peter Butt from the Adroit Services Partnership. Now, this issue of car boot sales being a blatant way for thieves to offload their goods is clearly massive too. One installer, as we will hear next, is campaigning to have the sale of power tools in such environments banned. And through his Instagram account, Stolen Tools UK, he has built up a substantial following of like-minded tradespeople who highlight their own thefts as well as back up his calls for action. He started a petition calling for that ban that reached nearly 45,000 signatories. At 100,000, it would have been debated in Parliament. But frustratingly, the dissolution of Parliament that followed the general election announcement means that petition will now be closed. Even so, at the milestone of 20,000 signatures, he did get an official government response. But it, unfortunately, said simply, "We have no such plans for a sales ban." And they backed that up with more general statistics about crime levels and police recruitment, which, as we will hear, is also very frustrating.
Schweb Awan, company's called The Gas Expert. I'm just a gas engineer based in Essex. Been doing it for about 5.5 years now. That's pretty much it. Just a tradesman out there, really.
You've got a real campaign thing going here, and particularly on Instagram, you've got the Stolen Tools UK account. You've got nearly 90,000 followers on there, which just shows the depth of the feeling there is on this matter. What's your personal experience of having your tools stolen?
My tools got stolen in 2020, around about that time. We just did a tap change in customer's house and come out, and they just literally cleared the whole van out. The van, apart from the damage that they caused to the van, it was the cost of the tools to replace them, because as gas engineers, our tools are not cheap. They're expensive. We've got analyzers in there that cost about a couple of grand. We've got power tools. We've got power flush machines. There's so much in there. And we need to carry all this stuff as tradespeople. There's no way you can go to do a job and just carry a tool bag on its own. It just doesn't happen. We've got so much to carry, especially as plumbers and gas engineers. We go out there to change a customer's tap. We don't realize it's not just, you don't need just a spanner or a screwdriver to do the job. It doesn't work like that. You need 10 bags that will go in with you just to change a tap sometimes. You just need these tools with you. And when they get taken away from you, it's a big blow because A, you've got to replace them. Second, the damage that they do to your van, you've got to go through your insurance companies trying to get that sorted out. It gets so difficult out there, and there's no punishment for it from the government. These guys get away with it. They sell your tools for a fraction of the price. I've been to boot sales. I've been across loads of boot sales, and that's all I see of it. And I think, where's this endless supply of tools coming from? And it makes me think there's no possible way a tradesperson will sell their tools and get rid of them. I'll tell you what, I've had a power drill, for example, a compact impact driver. I've had that for 5 years, and it only recently packed up, and that's why I replaced it. There's no need for a tradesperson to sell tools. It's very rare. I mean, you'll see a few odd here and there trying to sell them on a boot sale. That's fair enough. But the endless supply that you see in every boot sale across the country, that just tells you one thing, and that is where the stolen tools end up.
Can you estimate what your own personal experience there, what that cost you in the end?
About 8,500.
Wow.
My analyzer that I had for my gas work, that is £2,000. That went, it was brand new. I only used it a few times. That went in a whole bag. Then my power flush machine, that was £1,600. That went, all my power tools and drills, they came to accumulated figure of about 3,500. That all went. They took all the casing, the boxes, all they left was in was fittings. And apart from that, the damage that it caused to the van because it cut the whole back door off. I had deadlocks on there. That itself, well, I can't remember what the figure was to fix that door. Because going through the insurance, your insurance goes up. So I went and got it done. Then you got to replace the locks on it, replace all the tools. It was my mistake. I didn't have tool insurance. But then again, tool insurance, fair enough. But you only get a fraction of what the tool's worth at the time because you've been using it. They don't give you the full value of it. So I didn't have tool insurance, but I had to take the hit.
And presumably you're halfway through a job as well. You've got to stop doing the job you're doing. It affects the job you're doing the next day. The knock-on effect is massive.
And the stress that it causes you, because obviously this thing, it comes as a shock. When you see your van open and all your tools gone, you just don't know what to do with it. For the next month or so, you lose sleep over things because you think, what if it happens again? well, how can you make it more secure? You get your alarms done, you get your plates done, your deadlocks. These guys are getting through anything now.
And what's interesting about you is you didn't just sit back and decide that that's that. You've taken a bit of action about it, and you've kind of started gathering all these stories together under Instagram and other initiatives you've done. And some of the stories that come through from other trades guys are very similar, aren't they? This is happening all the time.
This is happening all across the whole country. It's not just a certain area, or it's not only affecting a handful of people. This is affecting every tradesperson that is out there. It doesn't matter whether you're a plumber, a carpenter, electrician, they are going through your vans. This is out of control now. It's not stopping. And it's getting worse by the day. Every 15 minutes, a van gets broken into in the UK. And that is just a stat that's reported probably, not the ones that are not reporting. Because a lot of people think, do you know what? Nothing's going to be done about it. Forget calling the police. And you got to look at those people. That's a high number of people that don't even report it.
There's several steps here, isn't it, in terms of action. Part of it is the action that the van owner, if you like, can take for themselves. And there's lots of sort of options for trackers and smart water and locks and all these kind of things. What's your feeling on that? Is it a waste of time? Is it just slow them down?
It's a complete, utter waste of time and waste of money. I'll tell you why. Because look, alarms, again, out there, what difference does it make? If you're in a Merchants or you're in Homebase or you're being queued down the aisle somewhere, someone's breaking into your van, your alarm's going off, people don't even look. And they are so quick at it, they're getting this stuff out within 5 to 10 minutes. That is a long time. Actually, I've seen it done a lot quicker. 30 seconds to get into your door. Doesn't matter if you've got alarm or you've got plates or you've got deadlocks, they get through anything. So it's pointless. That's the way I see it. I think the crime has got to be controlled in a different way, and you have to get to the root of the problem.
And how about literally where you're parking? Because you assume that car parks have CCTV and things like that in them.
Look, again, parking, working in London, you got to realise parking is restricted in a lot of places. You can't find parking outside the customer's house, or you can't keep an eye on it. You're busy at a job. But what are you supposed to do about this parking situation? But a lot of people actually think that people are getting broken into at night. This is happening while you're at work. This is happening in the daytime. But parking, again, I think is just completely irrelevant. The actual action there has to be a punishment for these people that are doing it. They're getting let off with a slap on the wrist.
And this brings us on to the next stage of it, really, doesn't it? Because this only exists because there is a market of people buying them. You know, they are only valuable to be stolen because someone is going to buy them. And that's kind of the action you're taking, aren't you? Which is, you know, a lot of these tools are being sold at car boot sales and on Facebook Marketplace and things like that. You're basically saying ban it.
I'm saying ban the sales of power tools at boot sales completely and these markets. And the reason I'm saying that is because it's a very quick way of them making money. You can imagine power tool, a drill set, you're looking about £200-300 for a decent one. You go to a boot sale, you can pick that up for £60 with the batteries. And they are in working condition. There's nothing wrong with them. And people are looking for that kind of stuff. I'll tell you what, I always say this, boot sales and thieves, I say, is a perfect match made in heaven. The reason why that is boot sales are not regulated. There's no punishment for the thief. And also, at the boot sales, you've got the perfect client as well. So you're looking for those bargain hunters that are out there. Not necessarily have to be tradespeople, but it could be just any general public. They find something really good that they can make use of, they'll buy it. Do you know what I mean? It's not just the power tools. You've got to look at every aspect of this. So you've got council vans out there that are digging out roads. Their vans are getting broken into. And you see all these big grinders and these grass-cutting trimmers. There's an endless supply of this. And you know these are not household stuff. This is not domestic stuff. This is all commercial stuff. So even the council, their working vans, they're getting broken into. And these are all turning up at the boot sale. No one's there to question where they're coming from. And it's the same person who's there every week selling it.
Yeah, and I suppose the idea is if you're the punter going around the sale, even if you have in the back of your mind a slight niggle of where these things might come from, you think it's a victimless crime probably, but it's not at all, is it? As you say, it's people's livelihoods being affected.
Exactly. It's the livelihoods getting affected. It's a massive, massive cost to the tradesperson. It's a devastating blow. Not only that, but mentally as well. We're at work always worrying about our vans, where we're parking, where we're watching it. Do you know what? I even get tickets because I don't want my van to be out of my sight when I'm at work. If I've got to park on a double yellow line, I'll park on a double yellow line because I can't leave my van quite far out because I know it's just got to be in sight. And I've got every security that you can think of in my van, but still I don't feel comfortable.
As I say, you're taking action on this. You've been campaigning for this. Talk me through this petition to ban the second-hand sale of tools at car boots, etc. This has been going for a while, so there has been a response from the government about it. What does it actually say?
Okay, so the response from the government, you got to realise, when you put a petition out, you've got two tiers on the petition. You've got 10,000 and 100,000. 10,000, obviously, you'll get an initial response from them. And we got our response on 20,000 signatures. The response in my eyes is not satisfactory. It doesn't solve anything, because all they're stating in there is a neighborhood crime is down by 48%. What has that got to do with tool theft? That doesn't make sense, right? Then they're saying they've employed 20,000 more officers. But what are these officers doing? I haven't seen any officers taking any action around this. People are selling tools in every boot fair, boot sales, and there's an endless supply of it. Why are they not getting questioned? Right? I can understand it's very difficult for the police to identify a tool, or they don't know who the owner is, or where the source of this is all coming from. But it's very clear that this is happening over there. People have actually found their tools in the boot store, but they can do nothing about it. The only thing we get is a crime reference number, which is not good enough. Other than that, government's trying to work with tool manufacturers and getting serial numbers and all these kind of stuff put on there. Again, it doesn't help. When my analyzer got stolen, that is registered to myself. When it goes to a service, that analyzer, it will come up with my details, and the service center has to report to me and say, right, this is your analyzer that's come through. Have you sold it to someone? And do you know what? It's been 4 years. I've not heard anything of it. So I don't see this working. Back in the days, they had these little forensic things that came up with this little glue. You used to put a little dot on your tools or whatever you want to put it on, and they can look through and see who's it registered to. But think about it. A lot of people don't even register their warranties, let alone registering their tools. And there's millions of tools already out there in the market. How are you going to put all these serial numbers on those that are already in circulation? They'll still go for those. So again, it's not a solution.
From the police's point of view, it's a very difficult thing to prove, as you say, unless they've been caught in the act or there's some CCTV. But even CCTV, it's just a guy in a hoodie.
Andy, well, there's pictures going around on the internet at the moment. If you look on the stolen tools page, you can actually see the actual thief's face, who's done hundreds of vans, right? If he did any other crime, he would have got caught by now. But why is he walking around still? He's done hundreds of vans. His face is clear on CCTV, and all his videos are out there of breaking into vans, right? This has been going on for a while. Why have they not caught him yet? That is just one of them. I just don't see. If he committed a bigger crime, if he did a murder, they would have found him within 24 hours. But because he's breaking into hundreds of vans and getting away with it, and his face is already on there, what is this CCTV and what is the purpose of it? The purpose of it is actually, you've got the proof there that he's broken into vans. You've got video footage of him drilling vans and cars and all sorts of stuff. Same guy. Pictures plastered all over the internet, and yet nothing's been done about it.
I think what you're doing is probably the right approach, which is you've got to kill off the market.
If you can't catch the thieves, if you can't deal with them, the one thing that you have to do is find the organisers, because they are the ones that are letting them through. A few years ago, I don't know if you remember, there used to be a lot of talk about illegal workers and them getting caught, get the restaurants being fined, the places where they were working getting fined, and this all stopped. They went to the root of the problem, right? They knew they can't control this, so they started issuing fines to the people that were employing them, and that's when it stopped. And you hardly ever hear anything about this anymore, because they knew how to tackle with it. And this is the whole thing. If you were to find the organisers of boot sales and markets and let them tell them, you get caught with power tools here that are stolen, you will face the fine. They will not let them in. There's already one boot sale in Denham. They've already taken action. They've put a board up. Don't sell your power tools there unless you've got a receipt, and you get checked by security. So that's a small little step. And that happened from this petition. The boot sales, I've started to see it now. I've got boot sale forums going on Facebook, and they're actually, the people that are going through these boot sales, they are fighting with the boot sales and saying, you need to stop this. So it is picking up. A lot of awareness is out there now. And do you know what? It's just going to be one of the things. It's a matter of time that people that do visit boot sales are just going to frown upon these things. And that's where we want it to be.
That was Schweber Wan, and I highly recommend finding the Stolen Tools UK account on Instagram, where you'll see tool theft incidents from the front line, usually as they happen. Now, that interview was recorded a little while ago while the petition was still open. But while it's now closed, Schweber is organising a physical protest at Westminster on June the 3rd, where tradespeople intend to drive in a peaceful Go Slow convoy demonstration. So let's see what happens. The election may have closed the petition, but the combined influence of such a huge block of people as trades could be a very powerful drive for long-term change if someone seeking votes takes up their cause. In the meantime, awareness of the issue from those that employ those trades, i.e. you, and the consumers who keep the market for stolen tools alive could also have a massive impact. So the best thing you can do, spread the word. Thank you to Stuart, Peter and Schweb for their time, and I'll see you next week.